I just like it known for the record that I am not an infant 100% of the time. Oh, God.
8, 7, 6, 5. Okay.
I hate you.
Welcome to Hey, did you ever see that movie? I'm your host, Des, and as always, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Lynn.
You know what they say, people in glass houses sink ships.
And joining us again, the podcaster with 1,000 potions, Mickey.
Where are you going? Nowhere.
And a new mic, I might add. This
Yeah.
week, we will be discussing the 1999 action thriller, Boondock Saints, written and directed by Troy Duffy, starring Norman Reedus, Sean Patrick Flanery, and Willhem Dafoe. As always, this movie will contain spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, go watch it, then come back and listen to the podcast. And now it's time for another installment of Disaster Piece Theater. So sit back and enjoy the show. Welcome to Disaster Piece Theater, where me and my two co-hosts will act out one scene from the movie that we are reviewing for you this evening. So please, sit back, grab some popcorn, and enjoy the show.
Quiet on the set.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
So, we've got the huge guy and a serial crusher theory, old chap. What's your name?
Detective Greenlee. Who the fuck are you?
Sherlock Holmes, that's who the fuck I am.
Listen, I gotta do this by the numbers. ID just came back on these guys and they got connections to the Russian mob. That makes it a federal matter. And Agent Smacker here is heading up this investigation with our full cooperation.
Why don't you get me a full cup of coffee, dear Watson?
Who the hell?
Coffee latte?
What the fuck?
Twist of lemon, yeah?
Chief, what the fuck is this?
And sweet and low, old boy. Ha ha.
Cut! Cut! Cut!
Okay.
That's the worst British accent I've ever heard.
I don't know. I was trying to do fucking Sherlock Holmes. Is he British?
He is, but you aren't.
Okay. And now it's time for Desi's 4-in-1 fun and one fake fact, where it will be up to my two co-hosts to decide which fact is total bullshit. Fact number 1. In the scene where the McManus brothers get into the bar fight with the Russians, Duffy is actually seen standing in the background and doing nothing after the fight starts. In fact, his whole band, the Boondock Saints, formerly the Brood, have cameos in this scene. Number 2. Bill Conley was having so much fun playing a psycho with guns strapped all over him that they had to add a large cigar the character insensitively smoked, because unless they stuck something in his mouth, he simply couldn't stop smiling. Incessantly was smoking this cigar. Number 3. Reportedly, Duffy wouldn't even consider Brad Pitt in any role, and on a phone call with his casting agent, calls Keanu Reeves a punk and Ethan Hawke a talentless fool. Number 4. Sean Patrick Flanery is first cousins with Chris Cornell, formerly of Soundgarden, helping him secure the role of Connor, as Duffy was a huge Soundgarden fan and ultimately was given use of 2 Soundgarden songs which never made it to the movie. And number 5, Duffy had a drunken fight with Ewan McGregor over the death penalty while out drinking at a bar. Ewan possibly being cast in the while being in a bar, disgusting Ewan possibly being cast in the movie. Ewan pulled out and the studio put the film in turnaround. Okay, I'm sure that was very clear for you and all our listeners.
I'd like
Uh,
you to repeat that one, please.
Okay, let me repeat number 5 for you. Duffy had a drunken fight with Ewan McGregor over the death penalty while out at a bar discussing Ewan possibly being cast in the movie, resulting in Ewan pulling out of the film and the
Ewan
studio
McGregor?
putting the film into turnaround.
Yeah, you and
Mickey,
McGregor.
Ewan McGregor, correct.
Ewan McGregor?
Yeah, Ewan McGregor, a famous Brit. No?
He's not a
You
Brit.
just thought.
Okay, well, neither am I. So,
You just
Mickey,
thought.
which of these 5 facts do you think is total bullshit?
I should know this. I feel like it is the Soundgarden one.
Okay, and Dylan, I may have given this away. Which fact do you think is bullshit?
I'm gonna go with you and McGregor.
Haha. Now, what we've got here is we've got a little case of inception, okay? I am Dom Cobb, and I incepted a thought into Dylan's mind earlier when I told her while we were watching this movie,
You did.
isn't it amazing how much Sean Patrick Flanery looks like Chris Cornell, his cousin? And she went, wow, he does look a lot like him. So I was total bullshit, and I was just bullshitting her. She fell for it. Sink, line, and hook. What? So anyway, Mickey, you got it right. The Soundgarden one is absolute bullshit, and I'm sure Dylan would have got it too if I hadn't pulled the old Jedi mind trick
Yeah,
on her. Like
you totally Jedi mind tricked me.
yeah,
You
like Ewan McGregor.
you Obi-Wan'd me. It was not good.
Fucking Obi-Wan you all day. I couldn't believe it when you. I'm like, doesn't he look exactly like his first cousin, Chris Cornell? Oh,
I
okay.
bought it. I
You
bought it.
did buy it. Okay, and let's see. With a box office, with a budget of $6 million and a box office gross of over $30 million, this movie was considered a moderate success. And yeah,
And
that's what I
it's
got on
had
this
quite
one.
a bit of
You guys totally froze up on me for a minute. So I heard this movie was considered, and then that's all I heard.
Okay, so let's do that one more time in case I have to edit it. With a budget of $6 million and a box office gross of over $30 million, this movie was considered a moderate success.
And I think it's probably done a little bit better since that number because it's become a cult classic hit. So,
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh my God, this movie is insanely popular, like on DVD. And I think the reason they didn't release it in theaters, or they may have released it in theaters, but only for a short time, was because of Columbine.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it got the theatrical release that it should have. I believe it was kind of like talk radio where it just didn't hit enough theaters to get that giant return. So let me ask you guys, Dylan, had you ever seen this movie before?
No.
Okay.
I knew
and Mickey,
a lot
I know
about
you've
it, but
seen
I'd
it.
never seen it.
You've definitely seen the movie before, correct, Mickey?
Oh yeah, dozens of times. Yeah.
Okay. And I've never seen the movie before. I was expecting Boondock Saints, something like that, maybe like Mystic River movie like that, and it's not what we got. Okay.
No.
What I basically got here was the same thing I got last week. I got a movie that was not intended to be a comedy, or maybe it was intended to be a comedy, who knows. But there's not a lot of jokes written into this movie, but I'm laughing through the whole fucking thing. I mean, it's brilliant. So yeah. So go ahead and give us a synopsis, Dylan.
It's good satire, honestly.
Oh,
All right.
yeah.
All right. So here's our synopsis. Short and sweet. 2 Irish Catholic brothers become vigilantes and wipe out Boston's criminal underworld in the name of God. Amen.
Okay. That's short and sweet. I wrote it, so.
You left me
all right.
that. That's what you did.
Yeah. So, yeah, just start us off.
Okay.
Bring us in.
We'll get right into it then. Unless we have any other opening thoughts. Anybody wants to pop in?
Mickey?
No, I'll save my thoughts for
Okay.
the review.
Good enough. Here we go. So, our film opens with Mass in a Boston Catholic church where Irish American fraternal twin brothers Connor McManus, played by Sean Patrick Flanery, and Murphy McManus, played by Norman Reedus, pray while a sermon is being read, mentioning Kitty Genovese, a real life crime victim brutally murdered, and it was reported that her neighbors watched without intervening. As the priest begins his homily, the brothers approach the altar and kiss the feet of the crucifix. They depart as the priest reminds the congregation that they should fear not just evil, but also the indifference of good men. The brother concludes that the priest finally understands. Connor stating, I do believe the Monsignors finally got the point, and Murphy replying, aye. So, Mickey, the story of Kitty Genovese, while real, is also a victim of the parable effect because her murder was senseless and horrific. I'm not trying to say that, but there were not 37 witnesses that stood and watched and did nothing, as the media reported at the time. There were far less than that, and one man even yelled out the window that made the attacker run off. And others had tried to reach the police, but the murder took place pre 911. You had to dial 0 and hope an operator would be willing to patch you through to the police. So the case, however, is often cited as one of the inspirations for 911. So all that being said, the writers are making a point here that's still well made and succinct, even though Kitty Genovese, the story isn't exactly quite as grotesque as the myth is, you know?
Yeah, and I think honestly that scene I think was such a powerful scene. And I love how they're sitting there and they're in prayer and the little girl's like staring at them and the parents are like, don't fuck with them. You know what I mean? And and it's funny because the first time you see the movie, you don't really know why you don't fuck with them. You
Right.
just don't fuck with them. And then I love when they're walking up and the guy stands up and the other guy's like, no, just let him do it. Because I think at that point they were already like, these two, although they seem like shady dudes, they're actually good guys. I just thought that was a really powerful scene. It set the tone for their uh, reputation, I guess. I don't know if that's the word, but
I almost wonder if this scene actually takes place like technically in the middle of the movie, not
that's what I thought too.
yeah, because
Yeah.
it's like they almost seem to already have a reputation. They almost seem to like, whereas when they're at the meatpacking plant and all that stuff, which we will get to, but the beginning of the movie, it seems almost like they're just dudes.
Right.
So it was like, geez, they kind of almost have to have like this reputation, but they just,
Well, and
I,
again too, like, and I think we'll get there eventually, but that epiphany that they have in when they're sleeping over at the jail, when they
mhm,
both wake up and they're like, holy shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
right,
I thought that was I think that's a good observation that this scene definitely felt like it was out of sequence in the movie. I felt the
yeah,
same thing. I felt like this maybe was taken from another spot, like you said.
Hmm.
Um what was interesting about this scene, well, so it sets a mood, like I said, kind of like Mystic River or the other one that I was talking about, The Departed. And I'm like, okay, I'm getting ready for like a very heavy, deep, gritty gangster movie, and I'm buckling in for this. And we meet these two brothers, and throughout the whole movie, these two guys are playing it very much like Mystic River or The Departed. They're bringing a very hard, gritty performance to this movie, and they never break out of it. I love that. Um, so by the time they leave the church and they light their cigarettes, I'm like, okay, this is what I'm getting. And I thought that was really cool. And I don't know if Duffy was like intentionally doing a misdirect here to try and mislead the audience into what they're about to see, because we are literally about to be brought into a universe that reminds me very much of Big Trouble in Little China from last week. Like just gobs and gobs of satire. All the other characters are going to be over the top, like I had said, when I first started watching this, once we break out of the scene in the next few scenes, it starts to smell like Monty Python to me. It starts to have characters that feel like they're out of like Austin Power movies, like bad guys that are over the top with their big cigars and their, those Russian gangsters. And yeah,
Ron
so
Jeremy.
yeah, Ron Jeremy. Yeah, yeah. And all these characters, I mean, these cops, Defoe, they're all over the top. They're all cartoon characters. they don't feel like real people. They feel like satire, and I love it. So yeah, great opening scene. Great opening scene.
Yes, agreed. So the brothers work at a local meatpacking plant, and there's a brief scene here with a woman trainee being insulted by a turn of phrase and then actually getting punched by one of the brothers when she attacks the other. Later, while celebrating St. Patrick's Day in a neighborhood bar, 3 Russian soldiers, led by Ivan Chekhov, enter and order everyone to leave, as their organization has decided to evict the pub. In the ensuing bar brawl, the brothers and their friends publicly humiliate the mobsters. The next morning, Agent Paul Smecker, played by Willem Dafoe, is called to a murder scene and he begins trying to dissect what happened. In a flashback, we see that the gangsters, not able to take the L from the night before, show up at the absolutely disgusting hovel the brothers are living in and ambush them. As Murphy is dragged into a nearby alley to be executed, Connor escapes to the roof and drops a toilet, along with himself, off of the roof and onto the mobsters, killing them and rescuing Murphy. So, Des, I know you have a lot to say about these scenes.
Yeah. So in this meat packing scene, we're gonna meet this woman. She's tattooed. She's big. I love this character. I was so I was sure she was going to be part of this movie when we first meet her. I'm like, this is a great character. I could see her coming back in the movie and pulling them out of some situation here or there with a hard right hook. She's Boston. She's gritty. She's big. And I understand that Duffy's trying to set up that these brothers would do anything for each other. But I did not like Murphy punching her in the face. I didn't think it was a good scene. I thought it was over the top. I didn't think that it made me like the character of Murphy, which he won me over, a few scenes later. I was fine with him, but I just thought that this was a misstep. I really did. It didn't work for me.
I think they did it to just show, like, I don't know why they did it, but for me, I think they did it to show, like, that those brothers, they protect each other and they don't give a shit. Like, honestly, it's really like, oh, to hit anybody, but for a man to hit a woman, it's like super taboo. And so for him to just haul off and punch her square in the face, I think that what Troy Duffy was trying to show you is these brothers really don't give a shit what anyone thinks of them. They're all about having each other's back, period. And I think, while the scene may not have been kind of necessary, I think that's, it also shows, when Connor was trying to be like, oh, perhaps it should have been a rule of the wrist, like trying to joke with her, like, hey, it's St. Patty's Day, everybody's fun. And she's like, fuck you guys. Like, I think it was just to show, like, no matter what, they have each other's back. And if you can't take a joke, well, then fuck you,
Yeah.
It was effective. It was effective. But did you guys like her character? Could you have seen her coming back in the movie?
Well, so my problem being, so he obviously doesn't know that that's what rule of thumb comes from. So she could have used that as a teaching moment to say, hey, like, that's actually a little misogynistic. It was used because, men used to beat their wives, blah, blah, blah. And instead she gets super butthurt over it and won't let it go. And it's like, she kind of, like, I'm not saying she deserved to get punched in the face, but she kind of wasn't letting it go. Like, your first day on this job getting trained and you can't just not do that. Like, I
Right.
thought that she kind of was a little abrasive.
Yeah, fuck her. She deserved it. Okay.
Can we also talk about the arrival of Agent Paul Smecker?
Well, wait. Let's go into the bar next. Let's keep it in chronological
Okay,
order.
my bad. Go for it.
So I love these little information dumps we're going to get. These little quick information dumps that are set up in written form, and it's kind of cool. It's charming, like when the Russian gang comes in, and it's going to tell you who we're seeing here, and it's a simple way to set characters up, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. And I fucking loved this bartender with Tourette's syndrome. He is fucking great to this whole movie. People in glass houses sink ships. Like, he's fucking great. I love it.
The mixed
I don't
metaphors.
know if it's true or not, but someone, and I never really looked, but someone said that was Mr. Hooper from Sesame Street. I don't know if that's true.
No.
But yeah, I love that scene, and I love how, clearly all these guys have been hanging out together a while, and that is Troy Duffy in the overalls.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know, I love that scene and, even when they're faced with, big, angry, mean Russian guys coming in to threaten them, they're still like, "Hey, everybody's Irish today." You know what I mean? They're just guys living their life, having fun, and
Totally.
they're I don't know. I love that scene because it really shows, like, to me, it shows how I don't wanna say loyal, but just how they are with their group, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because this scene, this is where I really started noticing. This is where I was like, oh, okay, I understand what we're seeing now. Because like in The Departed, we get the bar scene in Boston where he says there's some guys you can hit and there's some guys you can almost hit. You know, this guy is a guy you can almost hit. And this scene in The Departed is very um kind of like Goodfellas. Like you're in a real life situation here and it feels really true. This again feels like an Austin Powers movie. I mean, when these three fucking Russians come in and and he's bald and the other guy's making the looks in the background. I'm like, this is fucking hilarious. And and then the fight breaks out. So yeah, I thought that the guy Duffy gets a hard rap on this one. They said he didn't have the chops to make this movie, and they gave him all this money to do it because he wasn't going to give up the script unless he got to direct it and just do it his way.
Right.
And I think he got a bum rap. I mean, I think he was balancing these two great lead characters, playing it straight with all these cartoon characters that were, it was sweet and sour. It was, it was really good. I loved it. So I was getting it right off the bat.
So just a
Good.
quick interjection. The bartender is played by a man named Gerard Parks, and he played Doc on Fraggle Rock. So if you
Oh,
ever watched Fraggle Rock as a kid, he's basically
Okay.
the one
Thank
human.
you.
Yeah, so
Maybe
he's
that's
not
what it
he's not
was.
Hooper, but he was part of our childhood in some way.
okay.
Okay, maybe that's what it was. Okay.
All right. Do you guys have anything else in that scene?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, because we have to
Okay.
talk about Paul Smacker.
Mm.
Okay. Well, we're going to the alley now.
Yes, let's go into the alley,
Okay.
please.
Okay.
I mean, amazing. First of all, that entrance with the guitar playing and he's got the hair going. And I'm just like,
good.
dang, it's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. He gets out of that car, and I'm just like, yes, please. I mean, this is the best Willem. I'm a huge Willem Dafoe fan.
Me too.
Huge. This is by far, hands down, not even close, the best Willem Dafoe I have ever seen. This is his best performance. I had no idea the man had this comedy timing like this, and he's doing it without trying to be funny, but he fucking is hilarious. And I also just want to mention how great it was when the brother escapes the handcuffs by pulling the toilet out of the fucking floor, and then he fucking kills the guy with a toilet from the fucking third floor. I was just like, fucking yes, he just killed a man with a toilet, and then jumps off the balcony and fucking
Lands on the
crushes the
other
guy with
guy.
his foot and becomes a serial crusher.
He was serial crushed by this huge fucking guy.
Oh god, that's fucking great.
I love that to me it seems like what he did was he gave a little like homage or nod to The Professional with Smecker with his earphones and the classical music, how Gary Oldman
Definitely.
did that in The Professional.
Definitely.
I love that scene, and I love how you can see on his face he's putting it together what happened. When he's like, check that building over there, and and the neighbors didn't see anything. Well, you're lucky you got a phone call in this neighborhood, and I love the interactions with him and Bob Marley.
Oh, him and Greenlee, the foil between these two is what just it's so good. And how Greenlee is always so wrong. He's got it so wrong. And
So many
you know,
times.
fucking Smecker, So we've got a huge guy in a serial crusher theory. Genius, he's like, you fucking idiot. Go get me a coffee. So good.
Next
It's-
time I want a bagel with my coffee. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And like I had written here, and I actually wrote this while I was doing my notes and watching. I said this feels like a gritty modern day Monty Python movie. I
Mhm.
wrote that, and this is before I knew the Deuce was going to be played by a Monty Python actor and one of the big actors from Monty Python. So I kind of feel like maybe that actor did have some fingerprints on this movie and a little input.
This is another one of those roles that Willem Dafoe did that I cannot think of another actor that could have pulled that off.
Nope.
Like
Nope.
him.
And Duffy gets some great shots of him, and he repeats it a couple of times. So there's a shot in this scene where Smecker's walking down the alley listening to the music, and we're getting a back shot from him, and he's kind of conducting the music. And we're going to get the same shot in the police office that's coming up where he says they were angels and he's flapping his wings, and it's a shot from behind, and it's the same shot. And I thought it was great. I thought that Duffy was like catching. He was, I don't know, just the way he was shooting Dafoe was really building this character as well as Dafoe was building it by the acting. It was excellent.
I agree.
It was excellent.
I agree.
Yeah.
Was Billy Connolly really in Monty Python?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah,
he was in fucking Holy Grail or whatever it is.
Oh, right. Well,
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the show, and I don't think he was on the show.
No, the movies.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm not sure if he was. Yeah, I'm not sure if he was in Life of Brian or not, but I know he definitely did.
He definitely did that. You're right.
Yeah,
You're absolutely
yeah.
right. I just was saying, like, I'm thinking about the show, and I'm like, I don't think he was on that show.
Yeah. Yeah. When I saw him immediately, I was like, wow, it's not a coincidence that I wrote that earlier in the movie.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I love Smecker too. You know, it's ass kissing time, and we're going to start with you. And he points at fucking Greenlee. So good.
I didn't know who Bob Marley was before this movie. And granted, this movie came out in like what, 2001, 2002?
1999.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. So I didn't know who Bob Marley was, but oh my God, and I didn't know like he was a comedian outside of, I just
And
thought
a
he was
reggae singer.
Every
Fun
little
fact.
thing's gonna be okay.
I just love him. And I even love the guy, I forget the character's name, with the tie.
Oh yeah, I don't remember his name either.
The other two detectives, the one that's kind
Yeah.
of soft spoken. I love how Defoe comes in and you can tell like most cops would be like, who the fuck is this guy? You know what I mean? And he just comes in and he honestly, even though he makes fun of Greenlee being an idiot, like he wins them over because he's so fucking smart.
Yeah,
And
Absolutely.
he's just, his instincts are so good.
he dismantles them, but then he's backing it up with his,
Right.
his facts and his
And
correctness.
he's also teaching them. Like he's saying,
Mhm.
why would you blah, blah, blah? How about what if you were blah, blah, blah? And so I think, excuse me, he was doing it to teach, but also a little bit of,
He is teaching them, and he is smarter than them. And as the movie goes on, we're going to see at one point, once he decides that he is on the side of the brothers, he starts using their naive and their simple police work. Like these guys just aren't on the same level, and he'll start putting them on a wild goose chase. He'll give them a theory that he knows is wrong to set them off the scent. We'll get to it. And what I also said to Delin was I noticed that we're going to get this scene over and over again through the movie where they're going to bring us to a crime scene. We're going to see what happened, and he's going to talk us through it. But it doesn't get old. And now if they played it the same way 4 times in a row, this would have gotten old. But each time they change it just a little bit until we get to the final one where he's actually in the scene as it's happening,
Right.
narrating it. So I thought that was very clever by Duffy. So I'm really disappointed he got such a bad rap for his direction on this, because I think he did a very good job.
Yeah, and the scene we were talking about it too was when Smecker's in the alleyway and the camera's coming down the alley towards him, and it just like some really clever camera
Yeah.
work, and it wasn't
Definitely.
like heavy-handed. It was just clever, and it
was.
was
I
like,
even
it just
love-
looked good.
I even love the camera work of the 2 viewpoints where you get Connor's viewpoint with the toilet and then you get Murphy's viewpoint from
Looking
the
up.
ground. So you can see
Definitely.
them both kind of happening at the same time. I loved that.
Definitely.
Yep.
They definitely connected the 2 brothers very tightly. So you're almost watching this movie through the eyes of both of them at certain points.
And I love
very
how they
clever.
showed like when he was, they're trying to find the bullets and the bullet casings or whatever. Excuse me. And then in the scene, you see how they knock it and the guy goes, bam. You know what I mean? Then you're like,
Yeah, there
oh.
it is.
Mhm.
I love the cop. I can only find one bullet. Did you check under the body? Ah, there it is. It's fucking great. So bring us into the hospital.
All right. So, skipping over the hospital scene a little bit, unfortunately. They're gonna go to the hospital because they're all, beat up, and Doc goes and gets them, and he swears a lot in front of a couple of nuns, and that's pretty funny. And the police are now beginning a manhunt for the killers of the two Russians. Connor and Murphy arrive at the police station to clear their names because they know that the gig is up. They're not stupid enough to think that they could just walk away and nothing's going to happen. During the initial interrogation, the brothers impress Smecker with their multilingualism, and while recalling the specifics of the bar fight and subsequent self-defense the next morning, Smecker believes their story and allows them to stay overnight in a holding cell to evade the press. That night, Connor and Murphy receive a vision from God telling them to destroy all that is evil so that that which is good may flourish. So, Mickey, I personally loved this scene because of all the little jokes with the cops getting coffees and bagels for Smecker. And then in the interrogation room, Connor's eating a bagel. So clearly Greenlee had accepted defeat and just went and got the bagels.
Yes, and I love like Defoe's character when you see him when he realizes these two aren't just, Irish Boston hood rats. They're, they actually they're educated, they're intelligent. I
Multilingual.
mean, yeah, I mean, how many
Yeah.
languages do they speak? And like they spoke like 7 in that scene,
Yep.
And I love when when he said, "What are you doing in a fucking meat packing plant?" You know what I mean? And they never really answer because I think they're just simple guys that just, they just
Yeah.
want to do what they do. But I love that scene when they both wake up at the same time and they get that like awakening. And I'm like, that scene was so powerful. And the first time I saw the movie, I wasn't even thinking about it, that's when they were like, this is what we're going to do.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
the
it was an
second time.
epiphany. It was an epiphany.
Yeah, it was the second time that I saw it that I went, oh, okay, now I get why they decided to do like it took me like a minute. But I love that scene.
I'm so glad these two brothers weren't written like Rocco because it would have been too much. If everybody was Rocco in this movie and everybody was Greenlee, this movie would have been stupid. But when
Yeah.
you get that sweet and sour between these characters, man, does it work.
Mhm.
In the hospital. So this scene is a classic Monty Python scene. You're going to get the 3 nuns standing there with, black eyes and fat lips. And you're going to get the bartender with the Tourette's, speaking in the yeah, fucking fuck shit, fuck. And that's just slapstick. It's Monty Python. It's a visual gag. It's great. And then,
Yeah.
like the Lynn said, they look at the little kid and say, that wasn't directed at you. End scene. It's a fucking it's genius. It's amazing.
And I love
Yeah.
that they showed the brothers like playing with the little kid with the hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think to me that's another a little thing that shows how like genuinely good these two are.
Yeah.
You know?
But Duffy is going out of his way. I mean, this could have been a much different scene where they're giving, the evidence to the bartender to hold, and it could have been done in a very Goodfellas type of way. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Where, they're hiding this evidence from this, nefarious crime. But instead, Duffy's going to give us this fucking scene where the bartender is snapping with Tourette syndrome in front of 3 nuns that look like they were in a bar fight. It's fucking hilarious. And then so this first scene coming into the police station, Smecker's going to give us like one of the best lines I've ever heard Defoe deliver ever. First of all, I'd like to thank whichever one of you donut munching, barrel ass, pud pulling, sucking sissies leaked this to the press. I must have rewound it 3 times and listened to it. I fucking loved it. And then he looks over at the fucking detective and he goes, and we've got what did he say when he's like, a wicked big serial crusher?
Oh no, he was serial crushed by some huge fucking guy.
Yeah, he was serial crushed by some huge fucking guy. He's it's fucking it's great. And then, Greenlee, wow, these guys are a million miles away by now. You probably won't say them anywhere near a cop. They're scared shitless. And they walk right through the door.
Thanks
I'm
for
like,
coming out. Yeah.
fuck yeah.
You probably
So
have better
good.
luck with beer. Yeah.
Yeah, drag a potato down the streets of fucking East Boston.
Oh
Oh,
God.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I said to Delenn, I said, so are we starting to understand the potato reference now? Or maybe we shouldn't be throwing it around so willy-nilly in our podcast every week.
Um,
Oh God.
I
I
Okay.
also
love that.
loved there
Yeah.
was a scene where Defoe is talking to the police and he goes, "They're not little angels," and it's like from behind, and he's like wiggling his fingers, and it's like
Yeah.
that was a great shot.
Yeah.
Very
Loved it.
similar to the alley shot that we just
Yes.
got from the crime scene. And
Mhm.
that's what I'm saying is Duffy, he's directing this movie brilliantly. Um,
And I even love the kind of like the casual, like, and to me, this is something that I feel like a lot of people wouldn't think to put in the movie. But, when Connor goes to make the phone call because he gets the Russian's pager and the guy, look at this. And he's like, saints. And Norman's like, oh, body of Christ. And he takes like the coffee and he's like baptizing them. I just think that's so clever and so funny.
Yeah.
so what came first, this or The Hangover? This came
This.
first, right?
This.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so The Hangover borrowed from this movie a lot because we're going to get the exact same thing where, we're going to see the guys wake up in the morning. What happened? And then they're going to show us what happened on the back end of these scenes. So we're seeing the result of the night first, and then they're showing us how they got there with these scenes. And it's played almost note for note off of this movie. The Hangover is. So I think this movie influenced a pretty popular franchise there for sure. There's no
Yeah.
way that guy didn't see this.
I mean, the thing is like, so it's like that time jumpy thing. And he's definitely using the thing where you see the result and then you go back and find out how it played out. Now, granted, that's pretty much the only thing it has in common with The Hangover, because The Hangover is a slapstick comedy, but
This is a slapstick comedy.
it's,
I hate to break the news to you. This is a slapstick comedy.
I
Dude,
disagree.
he shoots the fucking cat and then they tape a little tiny fucking picture over the fucking giant fucking blood. This is dude, this is a heavy-handed comedy and it's
It's a
wrapped
black
up.
comedy.
It's yeah, I mean it's silly. This movie is silly.
But yeah, I don't know if I would call it slapstick. Maybe like a dark comedy, maybe action
I don't
comedy. Is
know,
that a
man.
word?
Three
Dark action
nuns,
comedy.
three nuns standing with fat lips and black eyes with a guy with Tourette's is saying fuck shit fuck. I mean, that's not a dark comedy. That's fucking slapstick. It just is. I mean, the fact that those nuns had black eyes and fat lips, it's not like they were even there like praying over some guy that just died, Like he made it a point to like make them like East Boston nuns that fucking get in bar fights, kid, Okay.
All right. So, the brothers resolved to rid Boston of evil men, quote unquote, trademark. The brothers trade in weapons and valuables stolen from the mobsters' bodies for their own, and use Connor's knowledge of Russian to locate a meeting between Russian syndicate bosses at a local hotel. Crashing into the room through an overhead air duct, the brothers draw their guns and fire, killing 8 underbosses. This forces the leader to his knees, where they execute him as well. They place pennies over the eyes of each dead man. While the brothers are preparing to leave the hotel, they're surprised to find their friend Rocco, played by David Della Rocco, dressed as a bellboy, knocking at the door with a tray of food. They decide to fuck with him and pull him into the hotel room, concealing their identity with masks, and threaten to execute him. Eventually, they reveal their identities to Rocco, who decides to join the brothers in their mission. Agent Smecker is then called to the crime scene. He announces that since the killing involved the Russian mob, he thinks that the executions were the result of a feud between the Russians and Italian mobs. Des, and I know you have a theory about what's going on with Smecker at this point.
Yes. I also want to just give you one more line from the interrogation room. You'll have to check with your mother, but it's okay with me if your little friend wants to sleep over. I mean, fucking, he is fucking delivering. I love that. I was like popping wood on that line. I'm like, Defoe is fucking bringing it. So we didn't go into Giuseppe's office. I would like to just talk about that
please.
scene.
By
So,
all means.
in that scene, we're gonna get Ron Jeremy here again. This is fucking this guy this character is over the top. This is not even a dark comedy. This is a skit right out of Saturday Night Live. I mean, Ron Jeremy doesn't look anything like a real person here. This is, but
Does he
I
ever?
love it. No, but I love it. I love it. I mean, I'm expecting him to like have sex with a woman. Like this is like porno Ron Jeremy. You know what I mean?
He looks like Ron Jeremy.
He looks like Ron Jeremy dressed up like Elvis. I mean, it's ridiculous. And Giuseppe. So we're going to meet Giuseppe. And I was saying to Delin, so I was never sure if this was like the guy I was supposed to hate. I get it. He's the crime boss. I get it. He's the bad guy. But he's very charming. And even when he's being mean, he's always like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Like, I like Giuseppe. I thought he was a likable character. Even kind of like Hans Gruber. I hate to say it, but not in that good way. Like Hans Gruber was like a great villain. Giuseppe's not a great villain. He's a great character, but he's not a great villain. So they force Rocco to tell a joke. Delin, I would like you to tell the joke for our.
I will not tell that joke.
Mickey, would you like to tell the joke for our listeners?
Absolutely not, because I think the listeners should see the movie if they haven't seen it.
Okay, I didn't think either one of you were going to tell that joke, and I don't blame you for a second.
It's very racially colorful.
Yeah, and you can even tell that Rocco's like, when he says it and they're like, blah, he's like, yeah, that's what I said. Like, you can tell he doesn't even want to say it.
No. He doesn't want to say it at all, and it's very funny. And this actor is with his facial expressions and the pacing of this joke, the way it's told, and the way Giuseppe and Jeremy will not let him off the hook with this. This again is very Monty Python. Like when we're talking about, like when, The Life of Brian, for instance, when he's, defaced the Roman temple with all the Christian lettering and stuff. And, same thing. They're leading him through these jokes and making him say things he doesn't want to say. And it's very reminiscent. And I just felt like it wasn't a coincidence. I loved it. 100%. So they're going to go in, they're going to meet an arms dealer. The arms dealer scene is great. It felt very, scene. Yeah. And this movie definitely, again, I'm not sure which one came first. Probably Tarantino came first, correct?
Which
Reservoir Dogs?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Let me check.
Okay. So this movie borrows from Reservoir Dogs, and it also borrows from
92 for Reservoir Dogs.
It borrows from Pulp Fiction and it borrows from Reservoir Dogs. It has the same flavor. Neither of those movies are comedies at all, but they both did have some satire. And this arms dealer scene really kind of reminded me of Reservoir Dogs. I thought it was really good. It also kind of reminded me of the pawn shop scene from Pulp Fiction, where Bruce Willis is kind of looking for what weapon he wants to use. He'll grab one and the fucking chainsaw, it's over the top. And, and they're doing the same thing. He's got the Tommy gun now. It's probably too much, So yeah, really cool stuff.
I love the scene. I love when he turns the light on and you have like the "Oh Darling" song and they're like, ah.
Yeah. The music too. Again, music that doesn't match the scene, which is really cool, and that's very Tarantino. So I
love the back and forth with Connor and Murphy when he's like, "You need a rope for," and he's like, "Oh, is that right, Rambo?" And he holds up the knife like this one wants the rope and this one wants the knife, and they're like jabbing each other for it. I love it.
Yes, and that rope is going to come back into play in such an Austin Powers kind of way. It's just so like they're not like Duffy's not even asking you to believe this. He's not even asking you to suspend your belief. He's just saying this is fun. Just fucking go with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I loved in Smecker's apartment. He's going to get a phone call. He's there with his lover, and the lover wants to cuddle, and he basically calls him a fag.
Well, he doesn't basically call him a fag. Yeah. He does call him a fag.
Yeah. He's giving him that basic, I'm not gay, you sucked my dick. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
It's one of those things.
Yeah.
So
you're the gay one. Yeah.
Yeah. I really love that Smecker. Like, I'm not sure Smecker even knew exactly what his character was, but I loved it. I mean, we're going to get him in drag. We're going to get him being the man's man. We're going to get him being the insensitive gay lover. He's there's so many fucking layers to this character. And then he also becomes unhinged at certain parts in this movie where it's not even explained why he's acting the way he's acting, but I don't give a fuck. I'm like, at one point he drops to his knees and he's almost recreating the scene from Platoon where he's shot dead below the helicopter. And I swear he did this as a nod to that movie. Would you guys agree?
Yeah.
I mean, the scene
the
is
body
almost
language
exact.
is so, yeah.
It's, and I believe they may have even slowed down the film a little bit, but I can't say for sure.
I think they did.
The scene where they shoot the cat. I mean, that
we
scene.
haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, okay. Go ahead then.
No, but you haven't covered yet what you were telling me about Smecker and what his thought process is.
So they fall through the ceiling, John Bender style, Breakfast Club. They come through the ceiling. They're hanging from this fucking rope, just happens to be at the perfect height. They spin around together. They happen to be back to back. They're going to take out 9 guys. These guys aren't going to get one shot on them. It's fucking great. It's fucking, I'm just sitting there watching it going, okay, yeah, sure. Love it.
And you don't care. It's one of those movies where you don't even care that the likelihood of that actually happening is probably like negative 50%. You know what I mean? Like, you're just like, let's fucking go with it because this is great.
Yeah, because it's very much like Lethal Weapon 4. This is fantasy action. Okay? This is fantasy action.
Oh, yeah.
So Smecker's gonna come in and he realizes now what's going on. He says, I have a jacket on every one of these guys that's dead. So he knows the background on all these guys. He knows they're all scumbags. And he also sees what happened. He knows these fucking idiots fell through the ceiling and somehow got lucky and took these guys out. But at this moment in the movie, this is where Smecker goes from wanting to catch these guys to wanting to help these guys. And he is going to feed these dumb detectives this story about, I think this is going to be the beginning of a gang war, mafia war. And he knows this isn't the beginning of any fucking mafia war, but he wants to throw them off the scent, which is very easy because they're now have stopped even trying to do their jobs and they're just watching him solve the crimes. So he says, this is the beginning of this mafia war. And they're okay. And he knows it's not.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Don't forget Rocco coming in. Don't go over it. One of you guys take it because this is a great scene.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. They grab him, they pull him in. He's pissing his pants essentially because they're going, "We're gonna kill him, do him right here." And just they've set him up though. You know, like there's all these dudes in there, and they've sent him in there with 6 bullets. So
that exposition lets us know now that Giuseppe is done with Rocco, and he's looking to have him taken out. And, I love Giuseppe at the end, fuck. He's just losing his mind.
Yeah.
It's really great. So.
I also love the, I think it shows how playful and, again, close they are with their friends because when they're like, and he's like, we've got to fuck with him. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Most people would be like, we got to get the fuck out of here. He's like, oh, we have to fuck with them. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And they're all acting as if there's not a fucking room full of just gutted human beings.
Right. Then when they and I also love the realization when he's like, it's a fucking 6-shooter.
Yeah.
And then they get mad for him because he doesn't have a fucking clue what was going to happen.
What were you going to do? Joke the other 2 to death? Laugh the last 2 to death?
And you have to think like that's hoping that each one of those 6 bullets killed somebody.
Right.
You shoot and you miss somebody. Now you're down a bullet. You
walk into a room of 9, mob guys, and you've got a 6-shooter. You just serve them food and leave.
Right. Yeah. No, true. All right. So the following day, the brothers try to convince Rocco that he was sold out by the Italian mob boss, Papa Joe Iacovetta, played by Carlo Rota, because he was sent to the hotel with the 6-shooter, despite the fact that there are 9 mobsters in the hotel room. Rocco soon realizes this after killing 2 of Iacovetta's men at a deli later on, who hint to Rocco that he was really sold out. In retaliation, Rocco and the brothers hunt down and kill Vincenzo Lapazzi, played by Ron Jeremy, the underboss of the Iacovetta crime family at a local strip club. Also killed at the strip club are 2 street criminals with no connection to any organized crime, thus disproving Smecker's mob war theory. So I think at this point, he's just going to go all in on what he was actually initially thinking. The 3 vigilantes proceed on a series of increasingly violent missions, cleansing the city of vicious criminals and others who have eluded justice. Papa Joe, believing that the mob killings are an act of revenge from Rocco for setting him up to be killed, contracts the famous killer Il Duce, played by Billy Connolly, to deal with the vengeful package boy. And Mickey, I don't know about you, but it gave me great joy to see Ron Jeremy get shot, so I was down.
Yes. Yes. It really did. I mean, I'm sure like in real life, Ron Jeremy is a hell of a guy, but you know what I mean? Like his character was just so slimy. He literally made my skin crawl.
Yeah, I think I've heard plenty about him not being a nice guy.
Oh,
So
yeah. See, I don't. But just I feel like, yeah, he just like I'm just imagining the scene now. And I'm like, "Whoop," you know,
yeah, gross. Blech.
my gag
Yeah.
reflex is on high right now.
Yes.
The diner scene was great, where Rocco goes in and shoots the two made men. You know, we're gonna get the slow motion kills. The blood is great. Again, you know, it had notes of Pulp Fiction in it for sure.
Yeah.
In the apartment, I mean, have we got there yet? We're in the apartment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when the cat is accidentally shot, this is almost note for note with the scene where Travolta and what's his name?
Samuel L.
Samuel L. are driving in the car and the gun accidentally goes off and blows the guy in the backseat's head off. Same scene. I mean, and like Delin said, I thought it was going to be Rocco that was going to get it. Like I thought they were going to steal it note for note, but it's the cat and it's fucking great. I love animals, but that fucking cat, man, is like La Machine, you
Same.
know? Thing is fucking
It's
liquefied.
it's a horrible scene, but it's funny for what it was trying to do.
Definitely.
And I actually, the first time I saw it, I missed it. I didn't catch what happened. So I had to rewind it. And then I was horrified. But then they stick the little page of a book or something.
So funny. So funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's not even like they put a whole post. This is almost like in Dumb or Dumber when they've got this huge stain and they put like this little thing over it. It's like it's a joke.
But I also love too, again, how they show them, you know, all sitting around the table, they're eating pizza, they're drinking, they're smoking, they're bonding over what they just did because, you know, they're like, holy shit, like we're doing this now. We're actually really doing this now.
Yes. And at this point, they definitely have Smecker on their side because he's going to start hiding evidence and stuff going forward to keep these guys.
Yeah, can we talk about the girlfriend too showing up and is like, Rocco, where's my cat? And you don't even know the cat's name. What color was he? He was.
He says, "I'll shoot myself in the head if you give me that cat's name." And then she gives it to him. He's like, "Fuck." What color was it?
And she says wrong. She says he was orange. Wasn't he gray?
He was gray, like white and gray and black or something. Yeah, fucking funny as hell.
And the friend that's with her, I go down to get a pack of cigarettes and I run into 9 guys. You fucked. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, I love the sin bin, and when they're going into the sin bin, fucking Rocco's mask. Like, what is up with that mask? They give Rocco. Like, it's like all cut, fucking jagged.
He's like, are you sure you're Obi KB?
Are you sure you're Obi KB? Oh god, it's so bad.
And too, like even when they show Ron Jeremy kind of strutting in there with the car keys in his hand, and I'm just like, ugh, you know what I mean? Like you really can't wait for them to kill him. You know what I mean?
I couldn't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love in this scene, in the sin bin where Smecker is putting together the scene. You know, we're getting this again. And he's trying to figure out how the bullets got from each side. And he figures it out by crossing his arms, which I thought was pretty clever. You know, nothing's getting by him. He's a really good detective. And Greenlee's going to finally come up with a good theory. So it almost shows a little growth in Greenlee's character where he's starting to pick up on some of the things that Smecker is telling him. And he actually comes up with a good theory here. And Smecker gives us another great line, looks like we got us a cowboy, and his character is just full of these amazing lines. Yeah.
Mhm.
Agreed.
Yep.
Absolutely. And of course, you get that scene with El Duce in the prison.
Mhm.
And I mean, they've got him locked down like he's Hannibal Lecter.
It is. It's taken right out of fucking Silence of the Lambs. And
When
I
they're
love
like,
it.
move him.
Yeah.
And then lowering the little cage down on top of him.
Yes, but here's the joke: is they're doing all this to
And then they
release him into
give him-
society.
They give him
Not
parole.
happening. Not happening. That's not how
That's
you.
funny.
No.
Yeah,
You don't
Oh,
have
God.
18 dudes with shotguns trained on the guy just when they're moving him if you're going to give him parole.
correct. Correct.
Yep.
Oh, man. So Rocco insists that he and the brothers murder a hitman that Rocco had briefly worked with. According to Rocco, the man was responsible for murdering an entire family and had burnt their remains in a dumpster. They head to the hitman's house and murder all of his men. After a hand-to-hand fight, Rocco beats the hitman to death with a cue ball. As they leave the hitman's house through the front door, the trio is ambushed by El Duce, and in the resulting shootout, the trio manages to chase El Duce away. But Rocco's finger gets shot off, and each of the brothers receives serious but not mortal gunshot wounds, which they cauterize with a hot iron.
God bless you.
Sorry, I had to sneeze.
Should have seen it. It was amazing. Just one? You always sneeze in
It
threes.
was
What
just
happened
the one.
there?
It was just the
Okay.
one.
Okay.
It was coming and I couldn't stop it.
That's
Okay.
funny. I love
So-
that scene, and I love how they said. I love when the oh god, the main God, what the hell's his name? Rocco's boss.
Papa Joe.
Papa Joe. When he goes to see the guy in the bathroom, and they're talking, and he's like, "There's only one." Oh no, I'm sorry, not Papa Joe.
Giuseppe.
Nope, Smecker. When Smecker goes to see the guy, and he's like, he only has one rule: no women, no kids.
Right.
And that is going to come into play later. But I love that old guy. I think he's the grandfather of
I think
Papa
so.
Joe or
Yeah.
something.
I think so. And I can't figure out why he's working as an attendant in a restroom, but
So when Rocco recalls the killing of the family, this guy reminds me of Harvey Keitel in Pulp Fiction as the Lord.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So again, we're going to get another callback, and I don't
cleaner.
think that Duffy was ripping it off by any means, because this movie definitely had its own signature, but he was borrowing and doing it tastefully.
yes.
So yeah, I didn't feel
That
like
guy was
this
so creepy too.
Oh, he was awesome. Yeah, it was great. It was great. Fucking A.
Fucking A.
Yeah,
Oh,
Fucking
my
A,
goodness.
Cotton.
Fucking A cotton. Oh my goodness. So hours later at the crime scene, Smecker discovers Rocco's finger and he secretly takes it to conduct his own investigation. Actually, I'm going to pause here. Smecker with the little leather pouch on his belt with the 2 rubber gloves in it.
So
Oh
good.
my God.
And I also want to underline here that while he's unraveling this crime scene, this is where Duffy is going to give us the same scene again, but this time he is going to put Smecker in the action. So
Yes.
while Smecker is giving his
Unraveling
theory,
it.
unraveling
Yeah.
it, he is actually standing there, pointing at the guys. And I thought that kept this fresh instead of
Yes.
being like, oh my God, I've already seen this 4 times in this movie. No,
Mhm.
he realizes what he's doing and goes out of his way to make it feel fresh. And I like that.
Absolutely. But yeah, I love the little thing on his belt with the little leather pouch with the 2 rubber gloves in it. I'm just like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So discovering that this finger belongs to Rocco, who he's previously met because he remembers him from the precinct, Smecker begins to unravel the mysteries surrounding the various murders. His sympathy for the brothers conflicts with his professional desire to bring them to justice. Smecker goes on a drinking binge at a gay bar before seeking advice from a nearby Catholic church. I know. Bemoaning the futility of the courts that fail to punish evil men and his uncertainty with the McManus brothers' actions in a confessional, Smecker is oblivious to the fact that Rocco, who has tracked Smecker to the church, is forcefully directing the priest's responses to preserve the Boondock Saints' identities. Connor sees Rocco follow the priest into the confessional and, disgusted with the show of blasphemy, pulls Rocco's head through the other confessional at gunpoint. In whispered tones, Rocco tries to explain to Connor the circumstances while still holding his gun to the priest's head.
So good.
Smecker is advised, reluctantly by the priest, that the saints are acting as messengers from God and that the laws of God are greater than the laws of man. Inspired by the advice, Smecker decides to help the brothers. So, Mickey, this is like this whole scene has a potential to go very sideways very quickly.
Yes, and I love I love the priest, because you can tell as he's talking to Smecker, who really wants to help the brothers, that he's like, and he hates to admit it because Smecker's he knows
He's a
what Smecker does.
detective.
He's like, the laws of God are more powerful than the laws of man. And you can tell he's like, fuck, I hate the fact that I have to say this to you, but I have to say this to you.
Yes.
So I love that scene. And I love again how the brothers are like, you're not gonna hurt the priest to Rocco, even though that's their friend. You're not gonna fucking hurt this guy. He's a priest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can tell they're just inherently good.
They're stand-up guys. This is the second time they're going to tell Rocco something like this, because we're in the apartment and they're cauterizing all their wounds.
Mhm.
And Rocco sees Smecker on the news and he says to the brothers, this guy is a loose end. We need to get rid of him. And the brothers say, no, he's a good man. We're not going after
He
him.
isn't to
not
be
doing
touched,
that.
right? Yeah.
He's not to be
Yep.
touched. And I love in the confessional booth, the priest says, he asks if, these guys are dangerous. And Smecker says, no, the two brothers aren't dangerous. He goes, the Italian guy, he might blow your fucking head off. And the priest makes this face like, oh, when he says the brothers wouldn't hurt a fly. And then he realizes it's the Italian guy with a gun into his head. And he makes this face like, oh, fuck.
That was such a great scene.
It was. And there's so many great moments like this where the actors are letting us in on the joke just with a face. A joke that isn't even written,
Mhm.
And I loved it.
And
Absolutely.
even Smecker, he's like, I believe what they're doing is right. And you can tell he's coming to this realization. He's having an epiphany in the confessional. And he's like, fuck it, I'm going to help them. Thank
Mhm.
you. And he's like, fuck it, and he's like,
Yeah.
I believe what they're doing is right because our system is not working.
Yeah. And I love how the priest just doesn't give a fuck about anybody. He's just get the fuck out of the church. Like, I don't want to have anything to do with this drama.
Just
Everybody get the
leave.
fuck out. Party's over. Get the fuck out.
Get out.
So we're gonna get a scene where Giuseppe gets killed. And I mean where Giuseppe kills Rocco. Sorry.
Yeah, you're jumping ahead.
Oh, I didn't know. I can't tell the way you're reading the script where we are. I don't want to miss any of these scenes. So go ahead.
Oh no, we're getting there. This is
Okay.
the next thing. Okay.
Okay.
So the McManus brothers and Rocco infiltrate the Yacovetta headquarters to finish off the family, but are captured by Papa Joe and his henchmen, who recently arrived to protect Papa Joe from such an attack. Papa Joe executes Rocco to intimidate the brothers. The brothers, what are you doing over there?
The same thing Mickey's doing. I'm fucking out of drink like a half an hour ago. So I'm like uncapping and like licking for chocolate and coffee. It's like it's over.
I muted myself though.
Yeah,
Oh.
she's muted. You're making a ton of noise.
You know why? Because it's my show.
Stop that. Stop
Okay.
that.
Look at how
Good
offended
Lord.
she gets.
I do, because you're the one that is always complaining about people not listening to the show, and they don't listen because of things like that.
No, they don't listen because you can't read the script properly. Okay, let's go.
God, I sound like I'm in my house. You
Oh,
guys
shit.
sound like Tony and I so much. I just like it known for the record that I am not an infant 100% of the time. Like I have
Alright.
my adult moments.
I want to just, for the record, just say that I am an infant all the time, and sometimes I even regress further back. There's never a moment when I adult, ever. It just it's this or even worse. So there you go.
So the brothers manage to free themselves and tend to Rocco, while Smecker, disguised as a female sex worker, and chef's kiss to that drag. It's amazing. distracts the other mobsters. Smecker kills the remaining mobsters only to be knocked unconscious by El Duce, who mistakes Smecker for a woman. As the brothers say their family prayer over Rocco, El Duce arrives and sneaks up behind them. As he hears them recite the family prayer, and upon seeing the man he was hired to kill, Rocco, is already dead, he lowers his weapon and joins them. It becomes apparent that El Duce is their long-lost father, as the brothers have previously refused to teach Rocco the prayer because it's only passed down in their family. He then joins them in their mission to rid the city of evildoers. And the twist got me, Des. I don't know. Did it get you?
Yes, 100%. I
I
mean,
didn't see it coming.
well, I did see it coming that Smecker was going to start helping these boys get away with the crimes, but I did not see them becoming the League of Extraordinary Men with Deuce. Like, I didn't realize they were going to become like some villainous version of the Justice League. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but when Giuseppe kills Rocco, so this scene adds a layer to this movie that I didn't think we were going to get. It's a very powerful scene.
Yeah,
And we're going to slip into that Mystic River territory where it's going to make you feel the feels, you know? And I like that. I liked it the way he was able to just slip in and out of these moods, you know, feather these different types of characters in and out, make them work together. And then for Rocco to deliver this final performance before he died, it was just really great. It was really great. Yeah. And you gotta like hand it to fucking Dafoe. Like, the gentleman is committed to the craft, because this deep kiss at the front door with this fucking mob guy, I'm like, wow, the man is committed to the craft. You know?
I said to Tony that was like the highlight of that guy, the other guy's career, was like French kissing Willem Dafoe.
Kissing Willem Dafoe.
Because I've never seen that guy in anything else.
No, me neither.
And
But
when he's on the bathroom floor and the skirt is going up and you can see his tighty whities underneath the lacy underwear. It's like...
Yeah, oh, it's so good. And come on. So let me ask you. So this mob guy, he has to know that Defoe's a transvestite. And he's one of these guys that wants to explore this, but wants to tell himself that you know, oh no, this is a fucking woman for sure. But he knows it's not a woman.
He even said, like, you know, was Joey B's always sending us primo box? Like, right there, I want to punch the guy in the face just for saying something like that. Like, if I had met this guy at a bar, I probably would have spit in his face.
Yes.
Willem Dafoe is not primo box.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, and Willem Dafoe is an ugly woman. You know,
he's an ugly man. Jesus Christ! I saw it. I was like, ah.
Yeah. But you know what else I love is, and this scene is one of those scenes that is very sticks out to me in this movie, when he's on the floor and his wig starts coming off and he's really ugly, and the guy goes, "What the fuck?" And Willem Dafoe realizes that he's been had, and so he shoots the guy. But when he sits up and you can see his like lips. You know, he's like, and like you can see he's just like, I can't fucking believe I just did this. And it's like in slow motion, and you can see on his face, like he's like, I'm like, you know, and then he stands up and he's like, it's on now. Like, I just did this. Yes. Like, I'm a law enforcement officer and I fucking did this.
I was sure he was going to die in this scene. I was sure he was going to die. Not in the bathroom scene, but I thought he was going to get killed going through this house for sure.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, because I didn't see his character ending the way it did. I thought he was going to die trying to help these kids.
So do you remember the movie E.T.? And they put E.T. in the wig with the hat and the dress?
Oh shit, it's Willem Dafoe. I would have rather kissed E.T. though, 100%.
That's funny.
Oh my
Willem
God.
Dafoe better. To me, yeah, like Willem Dafoe to me is like, he's weirdly he's intriguing to me. Like, I wouldn't look at Willem Dafoe and go, he's a good-looking guy. But like, there's something about him. He has some sort of weird magnetism that is very attractive to me. Like,
I will say, when he got out of the police car in the beginning of the movie with the music, I was like, fuck yeah.
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 There's
something
about him that's appealing. Yeah. So he's very appealing. And I don't know what it is.
He's
It's like a
cool.
charisma.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that
very
hair.
very intriguing and very,
Yeah.
just like if I was there and I saw this guy get out of the car, I'd be like, "I wanna meet that guy." You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
me
Because he's
too.
just, like, super confident.
Mhm.
He's got a very unique face.
Yes.
You know, like
Yes.
for instance, him in Streets of Fire, he just looked cool. You know, it's like guy looks
Yeah.
fucking cool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So there were some heavy-handed moments with religion here that we glossed over. Like for instance, in the apartment scene when the brother is trying to free himself from being handcuffed around the toilet, we're
Mhm.
going to get a close-up of his hands with the blood dripping down them. And it's, it's very Christ on the cross. And we're going to get some, tons of close-ups of the rosaries.
Yep.
And and these guys are living by their faith, which I think is really cool. And then eventually they're dead to rights here at the end. Deuce has got them dead to rights.
Mhm.
They're over the guy, they're saying the prayer, and Deuce comes in from behind. And if he wants, he could just take these two kids out now. But
Mhm.
he hears them delivering this prayer, and he knows this prayer, and he starts saying the prayer with them. And they're saved by their faith at this moment. And I thought that was very cool. I
Yeah.
really liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It was touching.
It was, and it fit the movie, and it was a nice, it was a nice tidy bow. I thought it was a little strange to do, this, like you could set your watch by this hitman, is what they're saying, like he completes every job. But even he decided his faith was bigger than completing this job and wanted to,
Well, he was supposed to
team
kill
up with these
Rocco.
kids.
He was supposed to kill Rocco. Nobody had ever said anything about the other two kids to him.
No,
Nope.
Mm.
I thought Giuseppe had him there to protect him from anybody coming in to harm him.
Nope.
Hmm. Okay.
Nope.
Well, fine. Good.
No,
Even
because
better then.
Giuseppe says at some point, he's out there in the bushes right now. He's not gonna stop until the job is done. Let's wrap this thing up.
Okay.
3 months later, Papa Joe is sent to trial, and though there seems to be enough evidence to convict him, the reporters on scene anticipate his acquittal due to his gaudy-esque charisma. The trial is forcefully interrupted when the two brothers and El Duce, aided by Agent Smecker and several of the police officers, infiltrate and lock down the courtroom. The three then publicly declare their mission to destroy evil and recite their prayer one last time, killing Papa Joe with several bullets and a shotgun blast to the back of the head. The media dubs the three saints, and the movie ends with various man on the street interviews in which various Boston citizens reflect on the questions: are the saints ultimately good or evil? So, what do you
I
think?
love that. I love that they ended it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna get a few of these news broadcasts throughout the movie. Kind of a tip of the hat to RoboCop, which I thought was pretty cool.
Mhm.
Um, so the end of this movie, I had this is where the movie's gonna get a ding from me. So they kill Giuseppe in front of all these people, which is fine. I mean, it's cool. I mean, it works for the movie because that's what they're supposed to do. The problem was I wasn't dying to see Giuseppe get his. Like I wasn't like waiting for him to get his throughout the movie. Like I'm hating this villain and I can't wait to see him get what's coming to him. Cause he just he wasn't a bad guy in my mind. He never did anything that made me be like, I hate him. And I was kind of making the comparison to Delin. So in the original Rambo movie, Sheriff Teasel, you
First Blood.
fucking hate this guy right off
Yes.
the bat. And you're just like, by the end, you're just like, Rambo, you fucking killed this asshole. You want him to get it. And I did not have that emotion for Giuseppe. And um, I thought that was the first mistake that was made in this.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
didn't either,
honestly,
but I think I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the only thing that you know that he did is set up Rocco. And why did
That's
he
what I
set up
was gonna
Rocco?
say, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's probably why that they made him the example because A, he was a shitbag anyway, and B, he killed one of their best friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't invested in the character enough by this point to make this kill feel satisfying as a closing scene in the movie. I wanted to hate Giuseppe more. I wanted this to matter, and it just
Like,
didn't. And that's
yeah,
just a
give
fact.
me a 5-minute scene of him like stealing lunch from kids or something. I don't know.
Yeah, or like, beating the McManus brothers' new puppy and then sending it to him in a box. And
Right.
then
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God. That's
yeah,
terrible.
but that's the trope that they pull off in the Keanu movie,
John
Mhm.
Wick. Yeah.
John
I
Wick.
think
So
I think that's maybe why they tried to make the scene where Rocco is killed so dark, and they make Connor just, crying and screaming and no, no, no. And then you have Murphy like break my fucking wrist to get me out of this chair. You know what I mean? Like I think that's why they did it that way. So you maybe that would spur you to hate him more.
Mhm.
Um I mean, I agree with you. I didn't feel like I didn't hate him as much as they probably wanted you to, but I still
yeah,
thought it was a great scene, and I love the way El Duce like takes the girl by the chin and says, you eyes up front, you
you
have to
must
watch. You
watch.
have
Yeah,
to see this.
yeah.
Because I want you to tell the world.
Yeah,
Like,
Right.
Giuseppe felt like a businessman to me. The character building just wasn't there with Giuseppe. They just didn't invest enough time into building his character to where it needed to be to make this final scene have the impact that they wanted it to have. And everybody else pulled it off. All the other characters were perfect. And the acting was fine. The scene was fine. Like you said, that's great where they make the woman watch. I loved all that. It's
mhm.
just there was no satisfying moment in watching Giuseppe die. So that was
Right.
my only ding on this movie, really, which is pretty small.
And yeah, it's not on the actor, it's definitely on the writing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just character development into one character.
Yeah.
But
Um,
I love the man on the street interviews because I mean, I think it's such a intense subject.
yeah,
Sure.
and I loved how a
Um,
lot of people were no comment because they didn't want to be involved in it because they don't know who
yes.
these guys are. They still out there. Don't say the
Right.
wrong thing. But I did have a problem with this. Not one person had a Boston accent, and they're on the streets of Boston.
Right.
So, you're going to get a lot of fucking guy. This fucking kid. These guys are good guys.
I love
Did
that girl.
he?
She's like, "I love the Saints, man."
Yeah, these are like all people from California. Like, I love the Saints. They're very nice people. It's like this is not what we're going to get on the streets of
But
Boston.
it's such a like intense subject because like I think every time I watch the movie, I end up having this discussion with somebody like, "What are your thoughts on what they're doing?"
It's fine. They're Spider
I
Man.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, they're
this
killing
is
I
they're
people as opposed
superheroes.
I
to just,
agree.
Spider-Man usually just wraps the guy up and leaves him for the cops,
Then
but
they're the Punisher.
yeah.
I agree. I think that, they're doing what the police can't do because of all the legal bullshit red tape that you go through. Um, and then someone said to me once, "Well, who are they to say who's bad and who's not?" Well, clearly there's a line,
Yeah,
Sure.
you
they
know,
haven't crossed it.
animal abuser, yeah. Pedophile, yeah. Drug pusher, yeah. Like heavy drug pusher. You know what I mean? Like I'm
Yeah.
not talking about, marijuana or whatever, but like meth. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
Yeah.
I,
fentanyl.
I don't know. I feel like, I was just seeing I just read something the other day. This guy, um, he was arrested for something, some kind of drug charge, and he assaulted somebody. And they looked at and the guy's like 25 years old. He's had 23 prior arrests, and he's still not in jail.
It's
Like,
no good.
what the fuck? And then my husband is a former cop,
Right.
and the crap that he would see and the crap that he would have to deal with, he would spend so much time on something and then get it to court, and then it would be like, okay, here's your slap on the wrist. And especially the state of New York.
Right. Oh
Oh
yeah.
my God, ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. Massachusetts not quite as easy to get off on things. Kind of a strict state, but in general, you're 100% right. People just are allowed to continue making mistakes over and over and over and over and over and
Well,
over
I
and over.
think you also have the problem of jail overcrowding and things like that as well,
Right.
but
Right.
doesn't excuse it, but yeah.
Yeah, so I'm okay with the vigilantes, and same with Bruce Willis in that movie he just did about the vigilante. I loved it.
Oh,
Fucking go
Death
get him.
Wish.
Yeah, Death Wish, go get him. Go get
That was
them.
it. Did you see the original with
Yes,
Charles Bronson? Oh
of
god, I
course.
loved those.
Yeah, I loved all those. I
I
loved all the
loved
Dirty
those.
Harrys. They're all great.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll do a
Um,
Death Wish.
but yeah, I agree. Like I think that when I saw this movie for what I'm like, fuck yeah, I love them.
Yeah,
Keep it up. I got a
100%.
list.
They're
You know what I
superheroes.
mean?
Got a
That's
list.
like I said. That's what I wrote. They're a dark version of the Justice League. So I
Yeah.
saw them like superheroes at the end. So I think that does it. Let's go to the recasting couch, and we'll all pick a character. We'll recast them in the movie. I'll start, and I am going to be replacing Bob Marley's character with one Bill Burr. Oh, oh yes,
Mm.
yes. This is great.
All right. All
No,
right. Yeah, I
I
can see
like it.
that. Mhm.
Delyn, what character will you be replacing?
So I know this is a little odd, but I'm going to go for it. So I would replace the two brothers, both of them, and I'd replace them with Robert Patrick and Richard Patrick. Robert Patrick was T2. He was the Terminator. And he has a brother. I think he's a younger brother who was in a band called Filter, but
Oh
he's
yeah,
also looks a lot like him, and I feel like he could probably pull it off. And it just seems like it would be a cool flick for them to do that. So
interesting.
Hmm.
different
And
little
Mickey,
choice.
Gosh. You know, I think I would probably, if I was gonna replace anybody, it may be Papa Joe.
okay.
And I'm thinking like what the hell's his name? Sorvino, Paul Sorvino.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that would work for sure.
I mean, I like the guy that played Papa Joe. I think he did a good job, but I think like for me, you look at Paul Sorvino and you go, "Oh, gangster." You know what I mean? Like he's like a
Yes.
gangster in every fucking movie he plays. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like he would have been a good Papa Joe.
It's not a
Him or
stretch
James
for sure.
Gandolfini.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gandolfini would be
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right, I thought those were pretty good recasts. Do we like the movie with these actors?
I do.
Okay, it's watchable. It's not as good as the one we got. I think Bill Burr would have been an upgrade over Bob Marley here. I think Bill Burr would have played that part perfectly. Very similar to the role he played in The Heat. So
Yeah.
I think it would have
Mm,
worked.
yeah.
All right, so final thoughts and rewatch scores. I will start off. So, like I said, I'd never seen this movie before. I fucking loved this movie. I'm going to give it a 4.75 rewatch score. It's almost a perfect movie in my mind. It's right up there. And I know this is going to be a unpopular take with the listeners, but it's up there with Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction with me. It's in the same conversation. Not quite as good, but in the same conversation. And I'm taking a quarter of a point away just for the lack of character building with Giuseppe and the fact that I wasn't wanting to see him die at the end. And it kind of took some of the steam out of a scene that could have been a glorious ending to a excellent movie. So yeah, 4.75, fucking great movie. Dylan, what do you think?
I'm gonna give it a 4.4. I really
Okay.
enjoyed it. There's some times where it's like it's a little B movie, a little bit like, and I'm talking very briefly. Like I'll just be like, oh, takes me out of it a little bit, but that's rare. It's actually a lot of fun. So 4.4 from me.
And Mickey.
I think for me, there's I love a lot of things about this movie. I think this movie, I think Sean Patrick Flanery was awesome. I think this was one of his better roles.
Yeah.
And I think this was also the movie that put Norman kind of on the map
Sure.
way before Walking Dead.
Yeah.
So yeah, Team Norman, I'm good.
Hell yeah.
And um and Billy Connolly, I mean, Jesus, he was the perfect El Duce / dad.
Oh,
So
so
I think
good.
I'd give it a 4.75.
Awesome. All right.
Look at this.
So with the 4.75, a 4.75, and a 4.4, this movie is going to be a 4.68 rewatches. It's a fucking great movie. If you haven't seen the Boondock Saints, what are you waiting for? Go see it. It's a great fucking movie. Mickey, thanks for bringing this one to us. Again, it's a
Thanks.
movie I haven't seen that I'm glad I got to. And it's funny, what's great about this podcast is it's forcing me to see movies that I wouldn't normally watch, and some I love and some I don't love so much, but it definitely is fun to view new movies. So next week we will be back with Patrick, and we will be reviewing Office Space, one of my favorites. It's a fun comedy. I know Pat's never seen it, so I'll be looking forward to seeing what he thinks of it. Um, then we will be back the following week with Mickey, where we will be reviewing Creepshow. Again, a movie I haven't seen in a while, but I remember loving it as a teenager. Dylan, you've never seen it?
Oh no, I've seen it. I just haven't seen it in a million years.
Okay, but you didn't even recall the Tasmanian Devil, so you've
No.
never seen it.
I have
And
seen it because I've seen the thing with Stephen King and the Moss, so I've
okay,
definitely seen it. Just
seen a little of it.
it's been a very long time.
And then the following week, we'll be back with Tony's Tales of Terror, where we will be doing the 1982 movie, The Thing, with Kurt Russell, who I was sure was played by Chris Christopherson. Dylan, please tell the listeners where they can find the show.
You can find us everywhere. We are at Gmail at hey, did you ever see that movie at gmail.com. If you want to drop us a line, request a movie, anything, just say hi. You can find us on Facebook at hey, did you ever see that movie? You can find us on Twitter at hey, did you ever see that movie? And you can find us on Instagram at hey, did you ever see that movie?
All right. And I have started a sister podcast to go with the show. And instead of reviewing movies, I am reviewing records, albums, and it's called Breaking Vinyl. You can find that anywhere you find this show. That's Breaking Vinyl. And we release a show normally every Sunday. So if you're into music, stop by and check that out. And as always, I love watching movies from opposite ends of the house with you and then reviewing them. We did watch a little of this one together, and nothing's changed. It was a little strange. I'd like to avoid doing that. Mickey, as always, you've picked great movies, and the listeners
Thanks.
always seem to like them. So we always get a nice turnout for the ones you pick. And I really enjoyed this one. So thank you for
Good.
bringing
Yay.
this movie to my attention. And until next time, I just have one question for you. Hey, did you ever see that movie? See you later.
Bye.